Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Dry Down, a place where we aspire to enhance and elevate our olfactive sensory experience with the different facets, nuances, and aromas from scent, cigars, and wine. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome to the experience. Today I'll be presenting a compendium selection including Ormonde Jayne's Black Gold, an Argentine Malbec, and an EP Carillo cigar La Historia. If this sounds like the type of content you think you'll enjoy, pull up a seat, pour a glass, and let's elevate. So in today's experience, we'll start out with the fragrance as usual. And this is Black Gold, a perfume done by master perfumer Carillo. It's a woody, aromatic, floral citrus perfume with soft, fresh, and warm spices with a hint of powdery musk and a beautiful floral component of rose. And so for this fragrance, with such a sensorial experience effect, it gives an illicit beauty of what the Mysore sandalwood can do in a fragrance. It's a perfect compound to center this composition around. It opens with the immediate gravitas of fresh, herbaceous, effervescent juniper berry and clary sage accords. It works in perfect harmony as a scent that draws one in with intense fervor. I believe, to me, Carillo had to theorize that the melange of citrus fruits that he has running concurrent to the herbaceous notes would be a key componentry to bring out the classic Oriental woody Mysore rich greenness, as well as the nuances of the cedar wood that is a very nice cedar done in this particular fragrance. And I believe he nailed it. For the heart accords, the heart, it effectively transfixes the wearer with a core of like precious floral accords, an enticing and deeply sensual aroma that is producing a spicy floral scent with a clove-like nuance. And I believe that's coming from the carnation. That is a very nicely done carnation accord. It's bright and vivid and includes the water lily and an orchid that is very nice. And the bolstering accord for the heart, and actually throughout the entire fragrance, is the sandalwood and rose combination. Those accords run concurrent and just create such a sensual effect, a nice alluring effect, as well as a sophistication. And subsequently, the supporting florals also play a role in modifying the smell of Mysore, but they're not as critical as the rose. The rose is the really nice done. You can tell it's a very expensive compound. You also get indolic intensity from the jasmine sambac accord. It never overpowers the presence of the aquatic lily though. That's an accord, a note that comes in, it sweeps over the perfume, and it holds its own, but it never goes outside of its boundaries. It's a smell that you don't get often. It's very nice floral and it's slightly aquatic. And so as you can infer, this is a very complex woody floral underpinning, impressively distinguished and overtly exalted in its execution. And of course the dry down. You know, this is a scent that I can't really pinpoint its texture. At times it seems smooth and silky, and the next minute like a cashmere and velvet. Oud is present, but it's never penetrable. Labdanum, cedar, oak moss, and pink pepper are the commanding accords as the fragrance dries down to its 4th and 5th hours. And that presides over a nice, sweet hum of earthy accords, including vetiver and vanilla. Very harmonious and harmonious with emotion and soul. The Mysore makes this an extraordinary, very extraordinary and unique fragrance on its own. That spicy, milky accord that is few and far between in fragrances now is one to look forward to when wearing this particular fragrance. It's magnificent. This particular fragrance can make your presence felt without words being spoken. I would equate this to a fragrance that James St. Clair will wear in the Power Series as Ghost. A great perfume for the masculine heart of florals, opening bright citrus and herbaceous with a nice woody base that is sweet. Great fragrance. If you guys are looking to get your hands on this discontinued gem, I hope that I'm doing it justice by providing you with this insight, because to me, this is a true signature scent for a dignified gentleman as well as a dignified lady. Very beautiful fragrance done by Giza Joan by the house of Ormonde Jayne. And next up, guys, let me introduce you to a Malbec by the name of Uno. It's an Argentinian Mendoza wine, 100% Malbec. Its alcohol content is 13.9%. It's aged 10 months in French and American oak, and it's a potential aging of this particular wine, which will create great aromas after that at 5 years. It has great potential to grow in its aroma effect. It's a natural corked wine. It's great with pairing it in meal prep with red meats, pasta, medium intensity cheese boards and chartreuse, and also a nice tapa. I've had tapas with this particular wine and they turned out great, as well as giving those rich fruits from this particular wine. So let's get into the tasting. Uno, to me, is a viable wine that is a reference for Malbec wines from Argentina. Malbec is historically known as a red Bordeaux variety. It is an Argentinian that has given the grape Argentina has basically just given this grape a newfound potential and popularity. Well-made Malbec is usually opaque or nearly opaque, magenta or claret in color, tinged with purple hints that exhibit a vibrant scent of luscious blackberry, ripe mulberries, and some plum. With age, you will often detect notes of pressed violets, which is a nice floral component to this particular wine, showcasing its potential as a aroma enhancing and elevating in your experience. On the palate, you get a well-made Malbecs will display flavors that are nicely supportive of the ripe fruits mentioned. Juicy tannins and a bit of oak aging gives these wines structure and definition. As far as aromas goes for Malbecs, especially the Antigal Uno Malbec, it invites you in with a bouquet of plum, red, deep, dark cherry, blackberry aromas with an enticing hint of violet and a touch of the carnation. You also get vanilla, a slight milky chocolate, and that is brightened by a natural mellow acidity. These Garnet red wine has a silky texture and provides an agreeable minerality when you smell the aroma from them. Now, as far as body and texture goes, this is a very full body wine. Taste is not disappointing at all. Its intense mouthfeel is amazing. An adjunct filler necessary to explain this robust and bold, fruit heavy libation is not necessary. Textures are just as intense, mouthfilling, and rich of dark, bright, ripe cherry, blackberry, and the aforementioned oak with a slight ozonic floral, and that's coming from the violet accords. The tannins are supple and dry, slightly mouth puckering, but not harsh or stark. Acidity is on the medium-slow side for this heavy skinned grape. It's really medium on the acidity, it's almost quite low. The finish is one that wanes swiftly but lingers with a touch and persistence. In finishing and concluding, I like to say that the Malbec, this one in particular, is a medium to full body red wine, and thus it begs to be paired with more fully flavored foods. Unlike Cabernet, Malbec doesn't have a super long finish, which it means it can be paired with leaner meats as well as heavier. So you can go with something like roasted turkey. What else would I have with this? A lighter cut of roasted pork or a nice lamb. The pairing secret of Malbec that it works well with peppers, herbaceous sage, creamy mushroom sauces, melted cheeses, and cheese boards. In particular, this goes very well with a dish that has blue cheese. That's my final conclusion and assessment of Uno One Malbec, a great, bold, heavy tannin, fruity Malbec that I enjoy often. Last but not least, let's talk about our EP Carillo La Historia cigar. This cigar is a Dominican Republic that is a filler of Nicaraguan and a binder of Ecuadorian Sumatra. The wrapper is a Mexican San Andrea, accounting for a very toothy, bold chocolate wrapper that is very smooth and silky, with just a touch of toothiness. The cold drawn appearance on this particular cigar, it's a soft box press with a beautiful, beautiful band combination. The wrapper is, like I said, deep chocolate brown and it's smooth to the touch with plenty of oil. You do have veins running the length of the actual vitola, but that's to be expected with this particular San Andrean wrapper. The aromas from the wrapper is a combination of dark earth, almost nondescript nutty notes, leather, and a basic wood, while the foot brings notes of strong, strong raisin, black pepper, cedar, earth, and a nice hint of blonde coffee. After a punch cut, which I like on this particular cigar, and you will get to knowing how and why you cut your cigars in different ways. It's a nuance that you pick up out your journey, if not for preference on one day, but for specific blend on another. It's like I said, with the punch cut, the cold draw features flavor of cedar, earth, rich raisin sweetness, and a touch of light roasted coffee. In the first third, this is a cigar that has plenty of both spice and pepper on the palate immediately after lighting the foot, along with a strong, bitter espresso note. So that coffee accord that you get on the soft cold draw, it immediately explodes into a nice, deeper, richer coffee accord that makes this. It takes its time dissipating. It stays in your tongue and lingers on your palate for ages. After about 8 puffs, a distinct flavor of almost a caramel sauce comes over my tongue. The flavor takes over the top spot in the profile, followed by notes of the aforementioned espresso. You also get a powdery cacao. Anise is in this cigar as well, so it's a nice fresh spice to it. A hint of leather, the always nicely nuanced leather accord the EP Carillo blends into its cigars, as well as the generic, not generic, but the basic nuttiness of mixed nuts in this first third. You get plenty of black pepper, which is present on the retrohale, albeit it's not enough to cause issue with the balance, so it doesn't take the balance of complexities and boldness and throw them in a whack, along with some very nice brown sugar sweetness that comes and gets stronger within the first third, and that's a bonus for me in this first third of burning. Construction wise, the draw is wonderful, never resilient. After the punch cut, the smoke production and combustion is above average off the foot, and the burn line is very, very razor sharp after smoking 2 of the 3 I've purchased. None gave me a hint of trouble, maybe the first one, but I think it was for the way I had it stored in the car for the evening and for about 4 or 5 hours before smoking it. But I think that was the case for that particular cigar. The flavor is a solid medium, the body is between a mild and medium, and the strength ends the first third just shy of a medium mark. In the second third, while there's plenty of black pepper still there, although relegated entirely to the retrohale, the spice from the first third is long gone by the time the second third of the La Historia begins. The main flavor also has changed from a buttered, melting pop. It's almost a pop to the tongue with a candy sweetness of caramel. A combination of aged cedar and those forever present espresso beans pop off the tongue, with a secondary note of the cacao nibs that are bitter, dark, sweet chocolate. You get slight hints of toasted bread. You never get anything oak or charred like, but you do get a hint of the virgin oak barrels in this particular cigar. In addition, the aforementioned black pepper The brown sugar sweetness on the retrohale is showing no sign of letting up at any time in either of the two cigars I smoke. In terms of construction, both the draw and the smoke production continue to impress me with both cigars. And while I do make a minor correction on the first cigar, as I stated, it didn't justify any marks being taken away from the particular cigar. At this point, I would always recognize that the body and the strength are still medium to medium full, pressing up into the higher ranges. As it increases, it may land firmly in medium full, although it seems to be content with staying exactly at the medium body where I begin as the first third started into the second third. So this may have, to me, been a cigar that stayed strictly in that medium range. Now for the final third. The La Historia is very similar in the final third to it was in the second third. You get aged cedar, roasted espresso beans. They lead the profile, which is a great way for me to end this cigar. It punched right through. The espresso that EP Carillo creates is one that if you're a coffee lover, you always love the experience. The additional flavors of nuttiness, more of a cashew nuttiness now at this point in time, come through. Dark chocolate, the toast, the anise, and a slightly hay-like starts to fill out the final third. There's a bit more black pepper on the retrohale that seems to be doing its best to drown out the brown sugar, but it never really relinquishes its sweetness. As it gets close to the end of the cigar, it never comes close to completely disappearing as a raisin sweetness as well. You get the dense plum and raisin sweetness that are complementary to the previously mentioned Uno Malbec when you smoke and drink these two in a pairing. The flavor ends up just north of medium, very nicely done complex wise. Body and texture wise is a little bit lacking to me, but texture wise it's wonderful. The body can be a little bit more enveloping, but the taste profile is very nice. It remains nice in the medium to full strength, and it doesn't really budge from that until the nub. And I always put my cigars out just above an inch so that I don't overwhelm my palate with the warm smoke and taint my opinion of a cigar. So in my conclusion, the profile of this cigar is complex and has multiple changes in its thirds. There's plenty of pepper and sweetness in this particular Vitola, a distinct brown sugar note, plum, raisin, and especially that espresso coffee. On the retrohale, it keeps the cigar interesting and always gives you a reason to evaluate more. It's an extremely good construction and well balanced, solid medium strength to full strength cigar. Depends on when I smoked it, because I did smoke the two in different times of the day, and one hit me a little bit harder with the nicotine feel. It's both a cigar that is a great addition to the La Historia line, being EP Carillo's wonderful blending techniques, and it's easily to find in most cigar markets. So this is one you can pick up for under $10 with ease and enjoy throughout your summertime. Alright everyone, that concludes my experience today of a Compendium Series output. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and as I always say, if you did enjoy the content and found something to get entertaining or educational in your journey, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, leave questions and comments below, hit the bell icon.